Hello, we are again here with Mookie Tenembaum, exploring his disillusionist philosophy, his misalgic theory about human behavior. And we are discussing in this short news series of videos those daily states where intention doesn't play a part. We dedicated a video to sleeping, to even the artificially induced deep sleep of anesthesia. But we are going to speak about another unintentional state that is as common as sleeping, but not usually addressed by those who research human behavior, and which Mookie has called in previous videos sort of sleepwalking, a sort of fast forwarding through life. So we are going to focus on that fast forward sleepwalking aspect of everyday life.
Yes, well, as we said, we talked about sleep, and now we talk about sleepwalk. But the interesting thing about sleepwalking or fast forwarding is that we do much more fast forwarding than sleeping. In fact, we sleep between 6 and 8 hours a day. Of course, there are people who sleep 4, and there are people who sleep 9, but the average is between 6 and 8 hours, 6 and 8 hours a day. So when we sleepwalk, when we are in a state of sleepwalking, that's about from the 17 hours that we are awake, 16 and a half hours. I mean, it's really double the amount that we sleep. So what happens when we sleepwalk? We talked about it in other videos, and of course, people who've been watching us, and this is not their first video, they know what I'm talking about in general terms, but I will be very specific. When you sleepwalk, you are in a situation in which you don't suffer. But as in sleep, you are not really conscious. How do we know? Well, the best test is memory. You see, when I am doing something intentional, when I decide to study law, yes, or I make a momentous decision, or when I decide to marry my wife, or when I decide to have a child, or when I witness my child's birth, yes, those are moments that are memorable. The word we use memorable, we remember. Mm-hmm. But the time I drank my coffee last Monday, it's not there. It's not there because we are in fast forward. So why I'm saying fast forward? You know, when you watch something in fast forward, let's say you condense 3 hours in 10 minutes. Yes, that's how fast you go, depending on. And what you see is just little things that you cannot even commit to memory, because try to watch something in fast forward. You won't remember almost anything unless the person is doing the same thing for a long time. So let's say he's sitting. Yes, he's sitting in his office, So the sitting part, you can remember. The rest, not really. Not only that, since it is repetitive, you think you remember. Because of course I remember, and I will remember today in the morning when I had my coffee, or I will think that I remember that I had my coffee. But the truth is that you don't remember. Unless you spill your hot coffee on your pants before you go into the office. That's a disaster. You burn yourself. You have to put cream and this and that and call the doctor, and of course change your pants, and maybe going or not going to the office. That you will remember. But unless that happens, that coffee, that morning coffee, is going to be fast forward.
You mentioned before that there's suffering involved in awakening from actual sleep. Does suffering also play a part in awakening, so to speak, from this sleepwalking, fast-forwarding state? Is that a suffering in itself?
Well, let me go to sleep to go to sleep. Let me go to the issue of sleeping to be able to. Don't worry. I mean, I'm not going to go to sleep here so people will see me sleeping. Is that when I wake up from sleep, in general, unless it is an exception, it's not something nice. Waking up is not one of the great things in life. Yes, of course, if you wake up the day you're going to do something you enjoy a lot, then you wake up. Or it has been a fantastic night and you wake up. But in general, waking up has two parts and two sufferings. One, the basis, the way you're being woken up. That's the alarm clock. Normally, it's not something that you go. In fact, you doze and you try to postpone it. We postpone everything we can, including sleeping. And the second thing is that the feeling of being awake, of waking up, it's bad. The two things is that there are two little sufferings. So already suffering when sleeping. What happened with sleepwalking? When in sleepwalking, when I walk, when I'm walking in the street and somebody hits me, not very hard, just a little bit, or I get step upon by some person, that waking up is also not a good feeling. There is a little suffering in that. So suffering, and of course, once I open myself, once I am awake, I'm awake, I'm open to suffering. And we know that by the rules of disillusionism and misalgia, we are going to suffer. There is no doubt about it. And if not, we were going to look for that suffering that we have overlooked in the past.
So in a sense, a good advice would be to sleep or sleepwalk for as long as we can every single day.
Well, I try not to give advice to people, but what I can tell you is that the problem is that you do not live your sleepwalk. You're not conscious. You don't remember it. You don't live through it. You just are. That's exactly the whole point. Because being really awake, being in an intentional mode, the real intentional mode, is you open to suffering. So the problem is that's exactly the paradox. The paradox is, if I am intentional, I'm open to suffering. If I am not intentional, I don't know I'm not suffering. I'm not enjoying the lack of suffering while sleepwalking.
Interesting. So we'll go back to this in future videos, but I think that from a general point of view, sleepwalking is covered.
I think so too.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed the video, please like it, comment and subscribe.